Now, the purpose of today is to reframe some of the beliefs. A lot of people don't want to recognize the fact that, you know, lead quality has really factual attributes behind it. But there's also a lot of limiting beliefs that hold us back from understanding why sometimes qualified leads don't look qualified, or the actions that we take as a business owner can drastically prevent us from getting to the qualified lead abundance that we want. So, without being political about it, our mindset holds us back a lot from driving qualified leads. Probably not why everyone came here today. I want to explain why. Okay. And we're going to get into the marketing science as well. So, the first thing is, what are we going to identify today and how to fix them? Well, I want to be able to identify how to leverage and use AI to fix what's broken, how to understand some of the meta algorithms, and how to help you guys grow faster in the next 30 days than you were in the last 6 months. This is not something that's achievable for everyone, depending on where you're at. But the likely case is that if you're attending a workshop like this, you're probably looking for a little bit more than what you've gotten in the past, or you're looking to take a new step that you've yet taken before. And so there's going to be growth opportunities. What I want everyone to do right now, and by the way, none of this is scripted other than the presentation, okay? So just, this is not a polished thing. This is for direct feedback to help you guys grow. Dominic, what's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for hopping on. How many members are we getting each month right now versus how many members do we actually want every single month? What is the discrepancy? Now, again, I'm asking everyone here to be vulnerable. So I want you to participate in the chat. How many are we getting every month right now versus how much do we want to get? Please drop that in the chat. I need at least one person to do it. Let's go. Okay, Chris, 12 looking for 30. Okay, 10-ish looking for 20. 35 looking to get 70. Love that goal. 5 looking for 10. So the point of this, right, is do not compare yourself to anyone else. Compare yourself to yourself. We have a gap of where we're at now and where we want to go. Okay, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that at some point today, there's going to be a little piece of information that's like, that's interesting. How do I implement this thing to help me get to the next level? Okay. And again, we're going to answer questions here. Lead quality is not a static metric. It's not a single metric. This is one of the most important things that anyone can understand from today. You can't just measure a lead through intuition from like one stage of your funnel, from one stage of your nurture process. Okay, it is determined by very particular in-market signals with a suite of metrics that decline extremely fast. Okay, what this basically means, and we had an entire workshop just on lead decay. What this basically means is that you can have a qualified lead and they can become unqualified in literally 7 minutes. Okay, Harvard did a study over a decade and a half of research. This is not my research. It's not Fitness Business Fast Tracks or FBFT's research. Okay, don't shoot the messenger. They've done a collective meta-analysis on many industries, under many circumstances, under various economic conditions. And what the data basically said is that you are 21 times more likely to get a client if you get a hold of them within the first 5 minutes. Everybody hears speed to lead. This is just like a repeated parroting that you might hear from other marketers or growth agencies. But once you understand the real data behind it, it really shifts your perspective on how important this is. And so there's two buckets that we fall within. Bucket number one, we are actually not getting qualified leads or enough. I understand the reality behind that. Trust me, we audit people's ad accounts and there's plenty of people not getting qualified leads. But on the other side, bucket number two, you might be getting more qualified leads than you think, but we're just not getting a hold of people. And sometimes speed to lead isn't enough. You might get to someone in under 5 minutes. You might be trying to hit that 21 times more likely benchmark that you want to hit. But if the messaging's not great, you're not going to get a response and you're going to be 21 times less likely to get the buyer. Now, if you do get them to respond, the other piece of the data, there's three pieces, but that's super compelling, is that you're 78% more likely to get that client over the competition there's a if they start shopping other competitors. A lot of people don't. If you respond, they like what you're saying and they book with you, you're likely to be the only one. That's why it's 21 times. But its buyers are 78% more likely to go with the first person that make contact with them. Okay, so if you want to be 78% more likely to gain that lead that came in, if you want them to pick you, just do the math off of that, right? Like if you think about all the leads that you get, are you getting a hold of them in the first 5 minutes? People are asking for you to reach out to them. We can't be afraid of bothering them. Can't be afraid of annoying them. They've just asked for us to reach out to them. Okay, so I think that there's a big discrepancy between what a qualified lead is and what a qualified lead isn't, and how we're measuring them. Okay, I can't spend this much time on every slide or we won't get through everything. So the next thing here is like, what is marketing? I defined this on a couple different workshops, but what I believe marketing is, it's the ability to change the future state of the world through advertising. That's not just for fitness. It's not like a fitness thing where we're just, changing people's lives. That's not why. When your marketing works, it means you're nudging people to take action. If you can nudge people to take action, you've changed the future state of what they were or were not going to do. And so I want to put a meaningful definition behind marketing. Right? So it's to change the future state of the world through advertising. That's the way that I define it. We need to become probabilistic marketers. We need to lean the odds in our favor. Now, if you're a single location gym and you're under $40,000 a month in recurring revenue, you're going to get hit with what's called double jeopardy. We're not going to get into that. We went over this on another workshop. In short, it means that you're being penalized twice for being the small guy. That's what double jeopardy is, okay? And we can go into that in a different workshop, or if I meet with you guys one-on-one, I'll explain what that is. The good news is there's a way out. Now, if you have multi-location, there could be some people on here, multi-location, bigger box facilities, lots more revenue. That's not the case. And you're really fighting for market share protection and expansion to make sure that you have like a survivable way of growing your business. In both cases, it's a challenge, but the challenge is inherently different. Okay, so I'll try to cover both as we continue to go here. But everything's about probability. And we have this like exactism, which isn't a real word, of like, I want to put $1 in and know for sure every single time I'm going to get $3 back. And the sad reality is that there's averages that allow us to understand your ROAS, your CAC to LTV, all the metrics that you hear people talk about, but it's all about becoming a probabilistic marketer. How do you nudge the odds in your favor? Well, let me just shift your perspective for a minute and tell you how you can not put the odds in your favor. Don't let more people know what you do. That's it. Don't let more people know what you do. Okay, so when I hear all these false beliefs that we're about to go through right now, I just want you to think of that. Letting less people know what we do is never going to increase your odds of driving qualified leads. Okay, I don't think anyone here would argue about that. Okay, drop a 1 in the chat for me if you agree with what I'm saying there. Just drop a 1 in the chat. And if you don't agree, totally fair, you can drop a 2 in the chat. If you think contacting less people is better, drop a 2. Okay. Great. Getting good engagement. This is good. So we need to clear up some of these assumptions. Let's go through what they are. I need to hit a certain point before I start marketing. Okay, marketing is how you get to that certain point. And it's a far greater risk to wait to market. It is faster, more predictable, and less risky to market, even if it's on a limited budget or if you're doing it all organically. I don't care. I don't care the way that you do it, but we need a strategy that is designed with intention, with real marketing science, to be able to accomplish the things that we want to accomplish. Without marketing, we're just not going to get to a place that we want to get. Okay, so do not wait to start marketing. You're gonna spend more money, more time, and you're gonna grow your revenue at a rate that is just abysmal, and your life is not going to be fun. Okay, I speak to enough gym owners to know how stressed people can get, and it doesn't have to be that way. So this is a myth. The next thing is that meta ads don't work. They do work. I have a slide that I'm just going to go to because it covers everything. It's this one here. It's knowing how to use a platform does not equal understanding how to market. Anyone here ever been burned by an agency? Type a 2 in the chat. If you've been burned by an agency, type a 2 in the chat. We're workshopping here. We're workshopping. We're participating. If you've been burned by an agency, more times than not, now there's good agencies that fail because no agency is perfect. Okay, we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But more times than not, it's because they understand the platform, but not how to market. Now, Drop a one in the chat if you've tried to run any sort of paid advertising yourself and you also didn't get what you were looking for. Just drop a one in the chat. You tried it on your own, also didn't work. Okay, you learned the platform, you learned how to deliver media, but you don't have the marketing science. It's the same exact problem. The platforms aren't the problem. There's problems with the platform. Okay, none of them are perfect, but it's not the platform. Okay, it's the marketing science. All of these platforms work. Google works. TikTok works. Meta works. Instagram works. If you're a big box gym, Snapchat works. I wouldn't do that for training. Not yet. All these platforms work. Podcast ads work. Reddit ads work. They all work. But it's about having a clear expectation of what their function is inside of the strategy and what to do with each platform to have something that's tied together and not a tactic, but a strategy in itself. We're going to talk a little bit about the difference between a tactic and a strategy, but let's keep going. Organic gets me views, but doesn't get me business. This is another belief that people stop posting content. Okay, we have two things that we have to look at for organic. Okay, reach isn't the problem. It's the system behind the organic. We've got two buckets here. Okay, bucket number one is that it is an asset to the funnel. It's not a separate funnel. This means that the primary function to organic is lead nurture. It's people that are in the 95%. We'll get to the 95.5 rule in a second. It's for people that have yet to make a decision that you can stay in front of at no cost. How many people here, you can drop a one in the chat for this, have ever heard of retargeting ads? I'm not expecting everyone to know, but a couple people probably. Well, wow, what better way to retarget than organically if you can get them to your social profile rather than spending money on retargeting constantly? What if you can get them to your profile if they didn't buy and you could just retarget them every single day for zero money? This is all stuff that people don't look at. They look at views, they look at reach. Half the views that they get are people from all around the world. I'm sorry, 99.9% of the views they get are from people all around the world and not in their local market. So we can use it as a lead generator, but that's a secondary function. Function number one is lead nurture for people that found your business, have yet to take action, or chose a competitor that you're trying to win back over. Function number two would be sure. If something went hyper viral because you had a great video, well, then maybe someone locally saw it as well. But we can't lean on just organic content to continue to drive traffic. The only time this works is in very, very particular niche circumstances, which interestingly enough would be like bodybuilding gyms. Bodybuilding gyms do great organically, and there's a whole reason why, but I don't think many people here have bodybuilding gyms. So we're not going to talk about that unless it comes up in the Q&A. Hopefully this makes sense. The next myth is the best way to grow my gym is through word of mouth. I don't even want to talk about this. I'll say one thing about this. We do not want to discount the power of referrals or word of mouth. A matter of fact, people that rely on word of mouth typically aren't even leveraging the referrals and word of mouth enough. But just relying on this only is a complete disaster. I would say, without a doubt, everything in my own personal bank account, that if you're relying just on word of mouth, you're under $70,000 a month. It's just average data. I would take that bet. Okay, unless you're a big box gym. Again, I'm referring to like some smaller training style facilities. So we're really big on designing referral systems, spreading word of mouth and experience. All that stuff is great, but like just relying on it, it's going to keep you stuck. And the faster we can admit that and acknowledge it, I promise you, you might get one guy that's, tells, like, comments on ads. I grew my business organically. Like, marketing's a scam. They've been in business for 45 years and they finally hit 30K a month. They've been doing it their whole life to get to that point. Guys, you're business owners. We need to be building a business to help the community, but we either need to do it to have the life that we want or to be able to sell it to have the life that we want. If we're in business for any other reason, I'm just not sure why we're in business, right? So I want to market, but I don't have the money. There's always a way. There's a budget for absolutely everything. Okay. If we don't have the money, it means we're not marketing. We have to find a way. We have to find the resources that we didn't know we had to get started with something. It doesn't have to be a lot. Let your marketing compound. Do what you can. Any questions on that? That's a big one. Next thing is cookie cutter strategies don't work. Okay, it works for some people. The example that I typically give in the workshops is in the franchise model. Okay, in the franchise model, you'll see all these leaders at the top, and then you'll see all the people in the median, but the median is like actually very small. If you look at the swing, like the swing metrics from the top of the franchise leaderboard to the bottom, the gap is insane. So you have a median, but it's like there's no real average. And it's not because the marketing is better in one location versus the next for franchises. Anytime Fitness, Burn Body, Cycle Bar, it is purely based on location. And so we know just based off of the franchise model that marketing is one of the number one catalysts to change. If you don't change your marketing, you're just going to be a subject of where you're located based on foot traffic, based on competition, based off of if the people in your market want what you even have, because not everybody wants what you have. Sometimes people have the right business in the wrong location. It happens. I said this the last 2 weeks. If you had a rugby training camp and you put it in Houston, Texas, are you going to be a millionaire? No. If you take a rugby training camp and you put it in New Zealand, your odds are a lot higher because we know that there's a demand. If you own a CrossFit studio and no one wants to do CrossFit, you can't force people to want to do CrossFit. These are just examples. Okay. Cookie cutter strategies don't work. Now, outside of the franchise, we know that agencies do this. Not all, but a lot. So if you've had an agency and you've been put through this is the best way to do it, and they're forcing you to do something particular and it didn't work for you, it's because it wasn't designed for you. Let me give you the biggest piece of advice that I could give everyone here on the call. We have to do what's right for every individual and every individual business. Your local demographics, your competition, all of this matters. The style of the facility. So cookie cutter, whether it's agency or franchise, does not work. Some baseline principles apply, but 100%, we always have to look at everything individually. If you can look at a plan that's totally custom to you, you're going to get far better results. This is just true with anything in life, okay? So in a lot of cases, this is going to be the next thing here. You guys following me? Because we don't have a lot of time today. I'm going to be ripping through as much as I possibly can. Okay, cool. A lot of times we get a lot more leads than we think. We talked about this. Talked a little bit about lead decay earlier, when we started going through the presentation. Lead decay is just not taken seriously enough. And the technology that we have access to in today's world using AI, automation, whether it's voice, text, a combination of both, and even truthfully, with marketing, the ability to staff faster for more profitable, getting people in that can just take the leads in personally, there's no excuse not to contact people within the first 5 minutes on multiple touches. And so before we change our marketing strategy, if the leads feel weak, they might be, the first thing is to assess, do we have the right nurture strategy? Are we capitalizing on this opportunity? If we execute this and it still doesn't work, we know that we probably have to go back and look at the way that we're positioning the brand, right? We have to go back and look at what we're offering. We have to go back and look at the creative. We have to look at the copy, all these other things. Look at the branding mechanisms. But until we do that, if we just keep changing all the front end stuff in the marketing process, we could just be wasting more time and money. This is something that is just so important. That's why I just keep talking about it. Now, if you do need more qualified leads, what you can't do is play scared. You have to be willing to sit down at the poker table. That's the reality. Okay. And the reason that people feel so vulnerable or it feels so volatile, and sensitive and such a risk is because marketing to some degree is a little bit like playing the stock market. And what I mean by that is that if you understand the stock market, you know what trends to look for, you know what's a safe bet, you know what's risky, you know how to invest money here and there. But if you're just an everyday person trying to day trade, you just lose your money, literally 100 times out of 100. And so you can't control the market. You can only capture it. That's the point of that. Okay. Is that there's always you can't control in-market buyers. They're either in market or they're not. They found a category entry point or they didn't. And so when marketing doesn't work week one, and you quit and you decide not to continue to sit down at the poker table, you're just never going to win. Right? So you don't have to put all your chips in and go all in. But what you do have to do is you have to learn the strategies, you have to learn the trends, you have to have a very clear expectation, which I think the expectation is a part of the reason that gym owners don't want to market. I think a lot of people have given false expectations. So you need to understand what the real expectation is so you can place your bet strategically. Because if you have a low budget, if you have low bandwidth and time, all these platforms, they don't operate like traditional marketing. They don't operate just like TV or billboards. They operate off of a bidding system. Going once, going twice. Whoever bids the highest with the angle that you're taking is going to get more qualified leads. And so sometimes we have to start taking different angles to capture a certain portion of the market share until we grow big enough to attack broad categories. Right? This is why, like, when people run a free 6-week challenge, it works for 12 weeks and then stops working, because your competition is doing the same thing and they just decided to increase the budget and they're the market share leader. That's one of the reasons, not the only reason. Okay, so we can't play scared. We need to put skin in the game. But we need to be tactical and strategic. I totally get that. Can't throw money out the window. So 3 things that can actually fix this. Where are we at on time? Oh God, we got to move. Okay. The first thing is to learn the fundamentals. Okay, learn the fundamentals. Number 1, do we understand our local demographics in a 3-mile radius? Now, if you've been here before, I know I'm beating a dead horse, but if you haven't been here yet, this is what I ask every single person. If right now, without going to Google, and if you have the answer, drop it in. We'll fact check it live. I'll go to Google Live right now and fact check it. So have your mouse ready. If you have the real answers, you have to do it immediately, so we know you're not cheating. Do you know that the population in a 3-mile radius, or just in your zip code, do you know the household median income? Do you know age segregation, so the percentage by age? Do you know the percentage by race? Do you know the percentage based off of people that own the home versus rent? Do you know any of this? Do we know what percent year over year the population's increasing or decreasing? Do we know these things in our own zip code and local market? No one ever does, right? And even including myself, I forget all the time personally. But what you have to do is you have to get a document together. And this is easy. We could pull a census report for anyone right now. It takes literally 10 seconds. You could all do it right now. You could all go to Google, type in your zip code, and just type in demographics. Look at 2 to 3 census reports, the latest data, and take an average of all of them. Transfer that into a Google document, call it a day. That's a reference point for you. If you don't understand your local market, how do you even know that you have something feasible for the people you're trying to attack? I always tell a story. My business partner here at FBFT, he has a small group training studio down in Fort Lauderdale. When he started, it was small group training for everyone. As he looked at the demographics closer, collected the data, and looked at everything, he realized that the biggest opportunity against his competition, and based off of this data, was for 55 plus and only. That's it. 55 plus. And his business literally exploded. He's in 2,000 square feet and they net profit over 40 grand every month in 2,000 square feet, net profit, training studio. Not making this up. Right? And so he would never have been able to do that if he didn't understand his local market. He also wouldn't have been able to do it if he didn't understand bullet number 2, which is the 95-5 rule. Okay, we'll keep this super simple. Marketing, 2/3 of marketers, including agency owners, they have no formal training in marketing, no formal education. It's literally 2/3. This came out this year, by the way, this data. This is 100% accurate. And it shows people become platform proficient, or they parrot strategies that they also learned from another agency or online course. Okay, if you want to vet a marketer, ask them if they know what the 95-5 rule is. Ask them if they know how to define positioning. Ask them if they have a definition for marketing. Ask them if they understand the ad response function.
Hey.
Right? These are the things.
Okay.
Hey guys, make sure we're muted. Okay. Okay, I think we're all muted now. We have to have a baseline of things that we understand in order to assure the highest odds of success. Now, the best marketers in the world that work for big corporations, they know every single thing that I'm going over today. There's not one single one of them that doesn't know this. Okay, so the 95-5 rule is a very baseline fundamental principle in real marketing science that basically just says this: 95% of your market is out of market at any given time, and 5% is in market, which means we have to attack two things at the same time all the time. We have to create memory structures inside the minds of future buyers. So when they decide to take action, you're the first company that they think of. This lowers your acquisition cost over time and keeps lead abundance flowing. And we also have to attack the 5% who's in market right now to capture demand. Okay, so in short, if we know that 95% is out of market at any given time and 5% is in, we have to make marketing memorable. So people that are out of market remember who you are and think of you first. That's the key. It's something called mental availability. How are you going to get top of mind when someone decides to take action? That's great marketing. But also, the people that are ready right now, it's less about the memory structure. It's more about value proposition and urgency. Attack the 5%, get those people now. We have to be doing both all the time. We have to focus on strategic branding and memory, and we have to get people that are in market now. It's never one or the other. This is why I don't like I ran a Meta ad strategy or I ran a Google ad strategy. No, you need a marketing strategy. A singular approach is a tactic. Okay, we need to do all of it. The ad response function is understanding the data of when an ad actually starts to lack in performance. Okay, if you were to look at a bell curve, the ad response function says it's taking off, taking off, taking off, it's flatlining, and now we're getting diminishing returns. One of the ways to monitor the ad response function for a local market is to start measuring frequency. So if you're running Google ads, this is a note to take, okay, for you guys. Take notes on this. If you're running any ads right now, you need to monitor frequency. In a local market, if your frequency gets above 2 or 3, it's way too high. Because that means you're just getting in front of the same people that are not ready to take action. We need to get in front of new people that are in market. And we need the marketing to be memorable enough for those who didn't take action that they remember you. So to measure that ad response curve, we have to measure frequency. There's a couple other things, but that's the easiest takeaway from today for the ad response function. How to measure basically ad fatigue. Ad fatigue is like the common word for semi-describing that marketing principle. Do we have a real competitive analysis? Super important. And then how do people truly behave versus how we assume that they behave? All right, we got to keep moving for time's sake. We talked about never relying on a tactic. We have to go omnipresent. We're going to fly through this. Okay, it's got to be Google, Meta, TikTok, your website, reviews together, not in isolation. And not only do they have to be together, guys, but everything has to be congruent. It's like when we talk about quality, maybe you've bought a dresser before and you had to put it together. Buying a dresser off TikTok versus buying a dresser from, I don't know if this is like all over the country furniture store, but like Ashley Furniture, Raymore and Flanagan, going to like a local high-end furniture store. There's more congruency. It fits like a glove. Everything is like meant to be. It's not going to break. Okay, your marketing needs to be like that. There's craftsmanship behind it. You can't say one thing on your ad and your website says a bunch of other stuff. Right? You can't say one thing on TikTok and other things on Instagram. You're going to create what we call buyer confusion. And people that are qualified, maybe they submit a lead because they liked your ad. They go to check your website out and go, oh, that's different than I thought. Okay, so you had an in-market buyer, but you created market confusion. We see this all the time. So we need to be across all platforms all the time to some degree to dominate and become the number one gym in our local market, but everything has to be congruent. All the way down to what we see here, our organic, our lead nurture, our sales, our fulfillment. It all needs to start saying the same stuff. The biggest gamble that you can take, guys, make sure you're muted if you're just jumping on. Thank you. The biggest gamble that you can take is saying, I need to start with one thing. We run into gym owners all the time. They get on a call and they'll tell our team, well, I think I need to just start with this first. That is a massive risk. Starting with one thing is a risk. You have to have a strategy, not a tactic. Omnipresence is the way, just to be clear. Okay, we're getting close here. So we want to learn AI and algorithms. Like it or not, AI is here to stay. I don't know where everyone stands on the AI thing. I'll tell you this on a personal level, not a big fan. Just not my thing. Professionally, I'm all in. Personally, don't love it. Professionally, I'm all in, which is a little bit of a contradiction because there's just an inherent reality of what it can do for us right now. There's an inherent reality of how powerful it can possibly be. We have a guest here that we're going to be introducing in just a few minutes, literally on this topic. Like what can be done with AI and automation is just absolutely incredible. If you're pressed for time, pressed on budget, all these things, we need to learn how to use AI and the algorithms. Now, this isn't on the slide, so I'm just going to talk about it because we don't script this. Outside of AI, what's so important about the algorithms is that the algorithms have AI in them. And the way that you used to market on a lot of these platforms is shifting for better or for worse. And the way that it's shifting is it's finding people that are more likely based on the data that they've collected because all of these platforms and companies that you don't even know exist are getting like 70 touch points a day on you through your cell phone and your computer. This is why I don't call it digital marketing. For anyone that's been here enough, they know I actually call it surveillance marketing. Like when we can't get qualified leads, it blows my mind because we just have the ability to track everyone all the time. Digital marketing doesn't exist. Welcome to surveillance marketing. We're all being surveilled right now. I don't like it. It's just the reality of the situation. And so we have to use that because it's available to us. And so if we understand the algorithms, which is it's now placing people in front of that data, if someone's likely to click on something free and you're deciding to run a free offer, you're going to get people that don't have money that are only looking for free. This is a common mistake. There's some market conditions based on the zip code where that can still work. I'm just giving you general data, right? But if we position our brand in a way that's high intent, high value, people understand and know the cost, this could be a beautiful situation for a lot of people that are selling a higher ticket item, which would be, $150 a month plus, right? So we're going to get into that. So for right now, just really quick, because we're going to introduce our guest here in just a minute. Is everyone following along? Do we have any quick questions on what we just went through? At the very end, we always go over time, by the way. We have a Q&A, so if you can't stay on, no problem. But we're going to go over a Q&A. We're going to allow everyone to ask and answer questions. Okay, one of the things that I want to know from everyone right now is how many people right now, we talked about in the very beginning, we have a number that we're getting and a number that we're aiming for in terms of growing the business. And I mean this with like the most sincerity of all time. How many people are trying to solve that problem now? Like not in 6 months, not in a year. And I'm being dead serious. How many people are trying to solve this right now? Just type a one in the chat.